Yeah, and the Pistons won again. Oh, snap. We are live. Platty,
Let's
big
go.
time matchup. MVP candidates, man. Jokic, and you got Cade Cunningham. Pistons come away with a 124-121 victory tonight, man. Just give me your initial thoughts on this game because LCA was rocking tonight, man. It was rocking. I think the fans were ready for the action. Hey, look, we got some
I,
Pistons fans over here, too.
yeah, I know we got a lot to talk about both this game and beyond this game, but quickly my thoughts on the game, man. I thought this was one of the most impressive wins of the season for the Pistons. Where you talk about the talent that they were going up against in Jokic, an MVP candidate, Cade Cunningham winning that head to head, and in my opinion, again, proving once again why he should be second in the MVP. I just don't get these conversations. I've heard these conversations all year long, all week long, even as recently. And they're throwing guys like Jaylen Brown and Jalen Brunson into the MVP consideration. Where the hell is Cade Cunningham sitting at the top of the East? They said, well, if Jaylen Brown could get to the number one seed, he's got a real case. What about the guy who has the number one seed right now? Cade Cunningham delivered an absolute MVP performance. So I thought that was great. And I know Denver's not healthy. I do fully respect Denver. But Kool-Aid, Denver was one of the teams I'm scared of. But I kind of like how the Pistons have looked at both their games against Denver. Like, if that were to end up being the series that decides it all, if we were that lucky, I think you can feel pretty good about how this team matches up with Denver. They pose some real problems with their athleticism and their speed.
Yeah, and that was one of the questions I actually got to ask JB Bickerstaff in a press conference. It was, I'm sorry, Sar Thompson actually in a press conference. It was actually about that. The fact that they led effectively from wire to wire. They had a lead as big as 20, and then you start to see Denver go, two big lineups. They were throwing 2 6'11s out there, Jokic and Valanciunas, to try and match the physicality and try and cause some different looks for the Detroit Pistons. And they had some good moments. Obviously, Jokic is always going to get his. There were some times when Valanciunas, who has been notoriously throughout his career a Pistons killer, largely the Pistons handled that, bro. It was like, wait, this is your physical lineup. This is your bigs. This is your nasty right now. And the Pistons absolutely handled that. Now, as you get down towards the end of the game, that's where we've seen the Pistons effectively. Their Achilles heel has been that. It hasn't cost them too many wins this year as the Pistons do move to 37-12 on the year as Denver drops to 33-18. But this Detroit Pistons team just continues to, through physicality, through defense first, which they've been the best defensive team since December. They have the best record in the league since November. So all they had to do was just get their feet wet the first month of the season. And this team has been absolutely the best. And I think people that continue to doubt them, look, I don't know if they're at a championship level yet. I do believe that they're as equipped can get to the championship. I definitely do. But I remember when there was another team that got a lot of doubts here in Detroit. And it came from the offensive side especially. People doubted the impact that the defense could have of the 04 Pistons. And when you look at this Detroit Pistons team, when they had to get the stops, they got the stops tonight, man. Their ability to go out there, even when Denver threw two bigs, I thought that they were trying to force the Pistons' hands to go Stu and Duren in the lineup because the lineups the Pistons were running, the athleticism, the speed, the outside shooting, even for the Pistons, because they were up over 36-37, I believe, from behind the arc tonight. It just posed all types of problems for them when the Pistons said, we're not going double big to match you. Oh, there's Jokic. There's Jokic. Got to show y'all the Joker when he comes out.
Hey, man.
But,
nothing but respect.
Yeah, we got to show respect, man. His brother is over there, too, the one that looks like he played at U. Yeah, I ain't messed with them boys. They got passes here already. He got the city pass in the city. But that was interesting to me, man. Them trying to go to the double big lineup and it not working. Think about that. Valanciunas and Joker, bro, if this was 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we're getting cooked.
Yeah.
But, because you hear about the trade of Nikola Vucevic going to Boston, another one of those centers that can kind of move around a little bit, plays physical, and historically has gotten under the Pistons' skin. And there were some Pistons fans out there who were like, oh, man, Boston got a little bit better. You know what? Pistons got a whole lot better. The internal growth from just guys like Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren to just the small tinkering that Trajan Langdon has done to put the right types of players around them. This Pistons team is showing that this notion of they need to win a playoff series before we take them serious. Okay, bet on that. Bet on that. Me and Platy are here ready to take those bets for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, you ready to get into this box score, bro?
Yeah, let's run through this box score because I know we got some other stuff that we got to talk about.
And we're gonna do this quickly. All right, we're gonna zip through it because we got to talk about Ivy. We got to talk about the trade deadline. We got to talk about what this means for the Pistons, man. But a quick look at the court, real quick. Hey, and you see the little crowd? I don't know if y'all can see that crowd over there. That is Joker over there, man. Nikola Jokic and his fans that stayed after to try and get an autograph, man. He actually came out. He signed everyone's autographs. He's giving people hugs. That's dope. And there's some people over there that I know are not Denver Nuggets fans. So I appreciate when people do this stuff, man. And Eric Moy says, shout out for the segment with Kuka Hill and the Heavies today. Hey, shout out to
that was a dope segment.
Yeah, I saw Koo also went live. We did the spaces right after the trade too, man. So shout out to him. But we're gonna get through this box score and we're gonna get into this Jay and Ivy talk. Tobias Harris, 34 minutes, 11 points. And his primary job, honestly, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, was just to make life hard, especially in the times when he got switched off into Jokic. And I thought that, honestly, everybody on the team tonight, they did their part from that standpoint. Duncan Robinson, 25 minutes, 20 points. One of those classic games from him. When he's on fire, he is on fire. And lately, Duncan Robinson has been shooting the cover off the ball, man. 6 of 9 from behind the arc. And Asar Thompson, before we get to the big double-double, guys, 10 points, 5 of 9 from the field, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block, 2 steals. So your boy had 3 stocks tonight. I thought Asar Thompson played really, really well, man. Really, really well. And just to kind of keep the guards and the wings off balance in that kind of first quarter, Asar Thompson was doing the same, brother. Anything of note from you, from Tobias, Duncan, or Sarge you wanted to talk about?
I think Kool-Aid, I think it's pretty simple to say that they just did the job that needs to be done. And that's the way this Piston team has won so many games this year, right? Is by, you don't have up and down on paper the best looking roster, but each person is a superstar in their role. Tobias Harris getting timely buckets. Asar Thompson setting the tone defensively, getting those stocks, being aggressive. I thought that was absolutely key for him. And then Duncan Robinson just shooting the ball at a very prolific rate. Like each person fulfilled their role. So I think that's really it. I don't think there's much more to say. This isn't something that I'm going to look at and be like, oh, there's something to take away from this, other than the fact that these players are continuously providing the services this team needs. They don't need 30 points from Asar Thompson. They don't need, like elite defense from Duncan Robinson or playmaking from Tobias. Like they just need those specific roles, and these players are fulfilling it. So I think it was a good job by the role players. I think this was a good game for those role players.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why I wanted to be able to just kind of read theirs off in a group because when you just look at the minutes they played, Tobias Harris played 34 minutes, which is a lot of minutes. I think that was second on the team tonight, only behind Cade Cunningham, continues to log the most amount of minutes on his team. So don't be surprised if and when you see him have some, what they call it, load management nights here in the second half of the season, especially after All-Star weekend, man, because he's not going to get that break. The rest of the team is going to get a rest on All-Stars. He won't.
Yeah, I would even eye that next game against Washington, the first game of a back-to-back at home.
That should be a done deal. Sit him.
That's a game where, look, if you're looking at a lot of these Piston players, I expect a lot of people to show up on that injury report in the next 24 to 48 hours for this Piston team. They're definitely gonna, because they want New York, man. Like they want to beat New York and beat New York bad every time. So I think that Washington game, you're going to see a lot of Dennis Jenkins. I think you're going to see a lot of, I don't know if Herter's going to be ready or what, but I think you're going to see a lot of those bench players. B-Ball Paul is definitely going to make an appearance in that game. I think you're going to see some load management very soon here.
Shout out to load management. It's about to be one of the players of the second half here for the Detroit Pistons. But I still don't think it's going to give other teams that much of an opportunity, because when you look at the Pistons record, even without like Cade Cunningham or Jalen Duren or some of their top dogs like Tobias Harris, they're still winning games. Again, this team is almost 50 games into the season. They're at game 49 right now and only have 12 losses on the season. That's insane to me. I don't even know what we're looking at. And that's where I'm glad you started where you started as it relates to how people look at the Pistons and how they just they just won't give them their due. Like, go earn it. And it's like, what do you think they're doing right now? Now, unless you think that they're kind of as soft made in the middle as the Cleveland Cavaliers over the last couple of years, then I can understand. But when you look at this Pistons team, those Cleveland Cavaliers teams weren't going out there and doing what this Pistons team is doing right now. And they're doing it in so many facets of the game. People will remark that they have the number 22 like offensive efficiency, but in reality, they are pounding the paint. They're getting out in fast break. They're creating so many extra opportunities for themselves that it's almost as if these people aren't really looking at the narrative. They're not looking at the actual perspective. They're just kind of gazing through the box score or the component of if you don't have that one or two major stars out there, then they just kind of discount the effort that you have. But when you actually pay attention to this Detroit Pistons team, when you actually look at the type of defense they're playing, when you actually look at how they're frustrating teams out of playing the way that they normally want to play. I can tell you this, man, like, even though Jokic had a good game, they didn't look comfortable tonight. When you got into that fourth quarter, it was almost like they just let Watson kind of do his thing. The Pistons were trying to play the possession game. They were trying not to be overly fouly and aggressive and all of that type of stuff. And that type of stuff happens towards the end of some of these games.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, what did you see the Pistons do? You saw them make a few more free throws than they do down the stretch. And we still want to see them make more. You saw them tighten up a little bit, and you saw them play with, I don't want to call it poise, because there were like a couple little players here and there that you like to see better. But I thought they handled themselves appropriately, and they gave themselves a chance to win a game that they led wire to wire. And this notion of discounting them, I'm telling you, I don't know what it's going to take necessarily, because I could see them winning a playoff series. Like, let's be for real here. They didn't have Stu in that playoff series, and it took the referees really, really, really literally gifting a game to the New York Knicks for them to avoid a game 7 in Madison Square Garden, in which the Pistons won more games in their matchups against the Knicks at Madison Square Garden than the Knicks did. So that's why I'm just like, you know what? I think people are sleeping on this Pistons team too much. And part of it has to do with the all-star leap of a Jalen Duren, the superstar leap of Cade Cunningham. But you called it, man. Those role players, the depth on this team, to the point that we're going to get to the Ivy stuff. You could trade an Ivy, and this team's offense and this team still look the same.
Yeah.
And that's something to be said about that. But Cade, let's get to him. Cade and Duren. Cade, 38 minutes. Duren, 31 minutes. Cade put up 29 points, 9 of 19 from the floor, shot 30% from behind the arc on 6 attempts, and 9 of 11 from the free throw line. I told you guys about those free throws. Jalen Duren was 7 of 8 from the free throw line tonight. So you're talking about a big step in the right direction. The Pistons were 26 of 30 tonight. So I'm really happy about what they did to control what they could control, man. And furthermore, big double-doubles from them. Jalen Duren put up 13 rebounds. Cade Cunningham, 10 assists. He did have 5 turnovers, but guess what? So did Nikola Jokic. The guys who get all the usage, they're going to have some elevated turnovers. So what you look at with them is turnover rate, not necessarily total turnovers, and when they're happening. So these guys, I thought they went out there and they did what they're supposed to do in a star-studded kind of MVP caliber matchup tonight, man. And I thought that Cade Cunningham overall, you're seeing him start to really, and Duren really play and walk and score and shoot and look for theirs like they know they're it. Like, I don't see any hitch. I don't see any hesitation. I don't see any doubts, man. I just see these guys going out there, getting right into their moves, and things look quicker. Things look stronger. Like even Jalen Duren, there was a time where he grabbed a rebound on the far end of the court down there, all the way on the far end, and he didn't bring the ball down at all. He just went right back up for the soft dunk. Literally rebound and right back up within a blink of an eye. You know, and these are things, the small little things that honestly help you. You're talking about trying to get extra possessions and capitalizing. Those are the things that help you there. You know, you see Cade Cunningham a couple times was able to get to his mid-range and pick his spot around the types of defenses they were throwing at him, man. They were throwing those late and delayed double teams out of a 1-3-1 zone. Like, which was just like, dang, this is crazy. But they were still able, he was still able to find his spots. And when he had to dump it into the hub, they were able to find the cutters along the backside, man. So overall, I thought that Duren and Cade, they just continue to do what they do, man. It's like every game there's a double-double from this duo over the last few. And that's what you should be able to count on from the guys who call themselves now all-stars in Detroit.
Yeah, I think my takeaway again, it goes to that head-to-head MVP matchup that you talk about in Cade versus Jokic that I mentioned at the top of this, but it also goes to
Mhm.
that 2-on-2 matchup because I have to this day my most viewed clip is on my Instagram when I said that I don't care about the numbers. Jokic and Murray are a better two-man game than Stockton and Malone ever were because of just the versatility, the ability, the way that they performed in the prime time, and that was the year that Denver made their climb all the way to the championship. That was that playoff run. What Jamal Murray does in the prime time and the bright lights is special, and he did it tonight. Look, this was a big game for Denver. This was no doubt a game that Denver got up for, and Jamal Murray did what he always does. He made some unbelievable shots. He drew some fouls. He played great hero ball. Jokic played very efficient. But I thought, you know, Cade and Duran looked just as good of a duo tonight as Jamal and Jokic. And that is a huge plus if you're the Pistons because this Denver team is talented top to bottom. But at the end of the day, I think you'd probably take Detroit's depth right now, especially considering who's out for Denver, with Aaron Gordon out, with the injuries that Cameron Johnson out, the injuries that they have. But right now, you're looking at this Pistons team as like coming into this game if they can be on par or win the top two matchup in duo for duo, then you like the Pistons' chances of getting a win there, considering how deep this team is and how good this team is with their role
Yeah.
players. So I thought it was great. I thought Duran just continues to prove why he is an all-star. I called him out at the very beginning of the season. Remember Kool-Aid? Then he went on that immaculate run. And then he had the injury, and then he kind of took some time to get back. He
Yeah.
his numbers didn't dip terribly, but they definitely slipped. They definitely slipped in December to January, and now you're seeing them kick back up again these last couple games where he was like, "Oh, I'm not an all-star." Because national media started to, take that lock off his name as far
Yeah.
as an
The hype
all-star goes.
the shine started to go away just a little
Yeah.
bit.
And Duran is doing what Duran needs to do, man. So I think Duran's been incredible in this last stretch of 5 games or so.
Yeah.
You'll love to see what Duran is bringing to this team and unlocking for this team. And that gives me a lot of confidence in this team going forward. So I thought it was just one of those nights, man, where, yeah, Kate did have a couple turnovers in the clutch that you want him to clean up. But
Yeah.
that hasn't been a frequent story for him this year. He's really cleaned that up. So overall, I think you're very, very impressed if Cade Duran can have a two-man game that is similar to or better than Jokic and Murray. I think you feel great about your team's chances in that matchup every single time that happens.
Yeah, definitely, man. I think you're preaching, and I want to be able to shout out some of the people in the chat tonight, guys. I got to use the phone for this stream, just to make it happen. The internet in here is terrible tonight, man. So I had to stream from a different device, and we wanted to make it happen. So I can see you
Jaden
guys.
Ivey cut the cord on the way out.
What'd you say?
Jaden Ivey cut the cord on the way out.
Oh, goodness gracious. See, there will be no streams from LCA tonight. But I see you guys in the chat. I see you, Mike G. Let me see. I see Christina in the chat. Steve O Baby. Hey, shout out to the people for being here. I think I saw Dante151, Eric Moya, shouted him out. Trying to scroll back to see as far as I can, just to shout out everybody who's here supporting. If you didn't get opportunity to, go ahead and smash that like button. We got to get this stream into the algorithm, y'all, of Denver Nuggets fans, especially New York Knicks fans, because you're going to talk about people, why we're hearing so much noise about, if we do hear the Pistons, are they going to potentially fall off? Are they really serious contenders? I think it's because of the New York contingent, the New York aspect of media. Yeah, I still hear them feeling like saying things like, it's just a regular season. And I'm like, well, excuse me, what have the Knicks done? Like, what have the Cavs really done? What have they really accomplished? You guys went out there and did what Boston did. You won a championship. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is it that I'm missing? Bro, the Knicks played for it. Did they even play for a championship yet? Don't say the NBA Cup, bro.
I was gonna say, yeah, they don't even. That's not even a championship to them. They didn't hang the banner. They were too good for the NBA Cup. Adam Silver, man, I would be very pissed. You got disrespected by the Knicks.
And that's what I'm saying. Like when I hear when I hear like the Pistons talk, I don't hear them even talking about taking incremental steps. Last year, what was all the talk? We're making the playoffs, and we even asked them like, "Do you guys think that like the play-in is an appropriate step up?" And they're like, "Bro, we went the playoffs." Tim Hardaway said, "I did not come here to play in the play-in." He was like, "I was just in the finals." Like Beasley and all these guys, Tobias, they said that. This year, you know what they said? We believe that we're a championship caliber team. We want to play for a champion. Jalen Duren, when they just asked him before he made All-Star break, they asked him like, "Hey, Jalen Duren, they're going to be doing All-Star selection soon. How would it feel if you made it?" He was like, "It would be a good honor, but I'm telling you guys, I'm only thinking about the team. I know if we do for the team, then the personal and the individual accolades will take care of themselves. Like, man, we just want to really go out there and win, and we want to win a championship." And it's like every time you hear that, I used to cringe harder and harder, bro. Yeah. I really, early on, it was like, ooh, I'm bullish, and I know y'all going to get there one day. But really? Really? Then it came out like, yo, JB Bickerstaff said that we're a special team. And I'm like, okay. That's what they all say at Media Day.
Yeah, coaches say that.
Now they're freaking 37-12, and they're beating the crap out of teams, bro. They're beating the crap out of people's favorite teams. I know the score says 124-121. I saw the Pistons win a physically dominating matchup.
Like, that's the thing, Cooley. These aren't wins that you're down half the game or most of the game, and then you steal it at the end, right? These aren't frauds. These are, would you like them to not, make an 18-point lead a 5-point win or a 3-point win? Sure. But for the most part, this is a team that leads for a majority of every single game. Yep. And then sometimes they don't close it out, but most times they do. I think that's a very good recipe. I think that's a very good sign of a healthy team.
Yeah, hey, shout out to, Summer Pistons PR passing on through. Again, some of the best hospitality in the league and definitely the best media buffet, man. Shout out. But let's get on to this. Let's get on to the bench, man. I'm just going to kind of zip through the names real quick. Isaiah Stewart, 11 points, 23 minutes, 3-7 from the floor, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. Was just doing a little bit of everything off the bench tonight. And I think those are fantastic numbers for him off the bench. Ron Holland, 15 minutes, 7 points, 3 or 6 from the floor, 1 of 3 from behind the arc, 4 rebounds, 1 steal, and 1 block. So you got 2 stocks apiece from some of them dogs off the bench. Javonte Green, who had a hell of an open court dunk, 14 minutes, 7 points, 2 of 4 from the floor, 1 of 2 from behind the arc. 2 assists for him. And Karis LeVert, 4 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. And you got Danis Jenkins, who I think is going to be one of the biggest benefactors of the Jaden Ivey trade. 6 points, 2 of 8 from the floor. And honestly, he definitely used the bulk of those fouls that he got there, man. 5 fouls tonight to go out there because they needed it. They needed the physicality. That's what ruled this game. Their guards are very, very physical. Their guards like to get downhill in terms of Denver Nuggets. Even on defense, their guards just know how to man up and press up and use their bodies to their advantage. And so I knew that this was going to be a game where you could either see, people like Duren or Danis Jenkins. And so, Sar Thompson getting them their hands in the cookie jar a little bit or trying to match the physicality and getting a few fouls, man. So I actually like the way that our guys matched up tonight. This was one of those like aesthetically pleasing games to watch for about 3 quarters and a half. You know what I'm saying? And then towards the end of that, it was just like, you know what? This type of stuff happens. Games tighten up. You're playing against the Denver Nuggets. I'd probably be a little bit more concerned if this was one of the lesser dreads of the teams. If this was us after like the Washington Wizards game or something like that, we'd probably be like, dang, man, y'all got to put them away. But I thought that they handled themselves well. You got to think, especially in the playoffs, you're going to have those types of surges. You're going to have those types of runs. How are you able to handle those and iced out and close down the game, though? Because when it got close, there was a time where the Pistons, they were only up 3 points. Do you understand how many times in the past we've seen that go the other way? So for them to still only 3 with under like 2 minutes left to go to come away with that dub, I think that that's a good win. Denver could have easily snuck up and stole that one, but they had chances to be able to tie. They had chances to be able to continue to cut into the lead, and sometimes they made the mistake. They made the foul. They made the turnover, or they just missed the shot, and the Pistons refused to allow the second chance point during those opportunities. So that ultimate scrappy, every play, it just seems like when you hear people talk about old Andre Drummond, it's about not that he didn't put up stats, not that he didn't do anything, but the motor that people want to see 100%. And sometimes you wonder, is that even feasible? Well, when you got a deep team full of dogs, it definitely is feasible. Because I can tell you this, there's not many players where I can say they didn't hustle. There's players where I can say they might have been out of position defensively. There's players when they might not have made the right backdoor cut offensively. But I'm telling you, bro, even when they take their chances sometimes and they whiff on a steal or like a breakaway, this team is going all out in ways I don't think I've seen since the 2004 Pistons. And we've had a couple other playoff teams here, the Blake Griffin year, where we know Blake Griffin went all out. And we know during that time, Drummond did some stuff too, where he helped them get to the playoffs in the Stanley Johnson years. But, bro, this team right here, I think that they're making it tough on squads just because they're going to do that every single play.
Yeah.
And Nassar talked about that, man. He said, look, bro, we're diving on the floor for everything. He said that we have to continue to be that team where we're the ones, even at the end of games, diving on the floor because each and every possession matters. And that was something we started off the season talking about, bro. I think the next step is them being able to value each and every single possession, every single, including at the end of games. And when you get a squad that just plays that tough, when you get a squad that takes it that serious, I think that you give yourself a chance to win even before you get that other scorer that we think Cade needs, or that backup sure-handed facilitator, or that dynamic big that can shoot from three. This team is giving themselves an opportunity to say, hey, guess what? We're a little bit different than anybody else in this league right now. Whether we hitting the three or not, we'll go out there and bonk y'all on the head. Call us in the morning, like straight up. And that's what I absolutely love, man. I don't even know what the chat's talking about. I hear them. I said, see somebody, Eric Moore, just saying he was a dog on D. You know what? The Pistons all night work, man. But anything from the bench, man, in the depth before we go on to the team box score, and then gotta talk this Ivy stuff for a few minutes.
No, I think you said it all well, man. This Piston team is just different, and they've been giving us that evidence all season. And I think, I think a lot of people believe it. I think the only people that don't really believe it are the people that aren't watching us consistently. I think the people that are watching, like everybody in the chat, shout out to everybody in the chat. Like the stream if you haven't already. That is huge. That is a big deal you could do. But I think that, if you're not watching this team, if you're not following this team, then you're not really noticing what these wins are and how they're getting these wins and what these wins mean, as opposed to where the Pistons have been. So it's easy to write that story, but if you really dig deep, I mean, you can see that this is a team that's for real. That this is not fool's gold that they're selling you. It's not a perfect team, but it's a damn good team capable of some special things if they get there. And part of getting there, to me, and this is a perfect segue, is roster moves. I think that there still is some, despite how good this team is, I think that if they want to get that perfection, I think that there should still be some moves to be made, and they did make one today that caused quite a bit of stir.
They did make one today on quite that created a lot more than a stir, and it still got people stirred up. I see Eric Moore in the chat. Herder is going to be an upgrade for us over Ivy. Hopefully his shot comes back. We're going to talk about that because the shooting is where Ivy's actually been the better player. But we're going to talk about it. Let's get to these team stats first. For the Detroit Pistons, is something that we have been monitoring all year just to see the trends and to see if they are staying true to the form. They said that they want to be the number one team in the paint all year, and that their offensive philosophy is to touch the paint first. Like, that's their philosophy. Unless the three is wide, the frick open, and your name is Duncan Robinson, they literally want everybody, if you're your first possession, your first look, your first attempt, your first drive, to be something where you guys are getting it into the paint. And I absolutely love that mentality from a team who they went into the offseason with a plan to try and bring back some of their three-point shooting, and it all fell apart. Tim Hardaway went to a championship contender at the time in the Denver Nuggets, still a championship contender. You got Dennis Schroeder, who got the starter money from the Sacramento Kings. And then you got, we already know what happened with Malik Beasley, man. And so now you're in a position where you were able to at least bring in a Duncan Robinson, and you can look at your team and realize we're not going to be that good for being hard. We're going to work at it. We're going to try. But we have to make sure that we can play according to, like, the team. We have to play according to the personnel. And that to me has been one of the most brilliant things. Like Trajan's tried and he's done some things, but I think that what JB Bickerstaff and his staff has done to put this team in his right position, I don't think that there would have been a better coach for this, man. I like Dwayne Casey. I like some of the other coaches we've had in the past, but I just kind of look at even some of the coaches we had an opportunity to hire. JB Bickerstaff is it. When you hear Jalen Duran talking about how much JB Bickerstaff helped him this summer, we can talk about the legends that he hung out with this offseason. We can talk about him and Kay Cunningham and the connection that they had over the offseason. But when he mentioned JB Bickerstaff, it was just like, you know what, man, hell of a coach. Because what do we often talk about from teams of the past with our young players? Development was bad. The organization might not have been in the best of positions and things of that nature. And so, when you got a coach right now that's elevating your young talent, wow, some of these guys are still on their rookie contracts to this level right now, man, all you can do is clap your hands because JB talked about it. This is his first year as all-star head coach. This is Jalen Duran. He's like, it's awesome to be able to be out there. He will be coaching Jalen Duran and Cade Cunningham in the all-star game, which he found out tonight, which is dope. He's like, yo, it's dope for my first time and his first time we be able to do this. But he was like, Cade's first time was under me too. And he didn't say it like, some prideful stuff. He said it just kind of acknowledging, like, I guess, what's going on for this team, all the good that's going on right now, and how, he looks forward to being able to now actually be there with Cade because he wasn't there with Cade last year. So this is a pretty cool thing for the Detroit Pistons right now. And it's a really good honor for a team that has just continued to, I think, redefine what NBA basketball is in this era. And that's what every good Detroit Pistons team has ever done. The era will have its own narrative. It's set narrative, but the Detroit Pistons will come in and say, hey, look, I hear all that. I hear all that. I know you guys say hi, hello, soda. We say what up, though, and pop. That's how it's going down. And when they and when they're confident in that. And that's what I love about the Detroit Pistons right now, man. Absolutely love it. They're confident in it. And they just got that swagger about them that we've seen from some of our former teams. But team stat wise, Pistons did their thing tonight, man. They really did. 41% from behind the arc. Thank you to Duncan Robinson and everybody else. 46% from the floor. They hold the Nuggets at just about 45% and 33% from behind the arc. Free throws, they win that as well, 87-86. But the Nuggets got 43 field goal free throw attempts to the Pistons 30, man. That's a whole lot of free throw attempts. And at the end of that game, I thought that there were some calls that weren't calls, man. I'm being straight up, man. And I see you, Mr. Nuga. He says Kool-Aid and Platty. Thank you. No, thank you guys. I'm dead serious. Thank you guys, man. And I agree with you, Jim Knight says Jenkins is a dog. But going through these team stats, they win the battle 43-40. They tied the battle rebounds 43-43. Offensive rebounds was tied 12-12. This is one in which I give them a little bit of a pass, letting up over 10 offensive rebounds in this one because they're playing against Joker. It just is what it is, man. Let me see here. Assists 27-20. They were really moving the ball. That was something that was noticeable. But what I really liked about the Pistons is this. Think about this. The Pistons got whistled, let me see here, for 7 more fouls than the Denver Nuggets, right? So the Pistons wound up with just 9 steals and 4 blocks. The Denver Nuggets had 10 steals and 10 blocks, but they had 7 less foul calls. They were called for 7 less fouls. Some ain't quite right there, but whatever. When you're the Pistons and your reputation is physicality, that's going to happen. Now, when you can still win games despite that, that's when I understand the notion of you got to have to play through the calls. This Pistons team is proving the pedigree that they are. Like, think about that. It wasn't like they decently took care of the ball tonight, too. Only 9 turnovers. So it's like they helped themselves in every other chance that they could, man, to go out there, fast break points. They won that 26-9. Points in the paint, they won that 58-52, playing against a team that likes to play in the paint. Like the Pistons just controlled and dictated everything, and they took away or nullified the strengths of the Denver flipping Nuggets, man.
Yeah, former world champs. Like those box score stats are impressive. Again, to do them against a team that is as fundamentally sound as Denver, I think is a really, really impressive to give up that disparity in free throws. Again, not ideal, but But what's killed the Pistons is that they give up that disparity and they shoot poorly from the free throw line. This was one of those games where they shot well from the free throw line.
Yeah.
They just ultimately ended up giving up a hand chunk more of free throws. But had they even shot at a lower percentage, I mean, you're talking about it. You're talking about Denver eking out a win there. Like that is a difference. So I think this Piston team, it just shows the growth that we've seen from the start of this season. We've seen this team beat teams in the paint. We've seen them lead in assists. We've seen them lead in stocks. We've seen them get points off turnovers and win that battle. Uh, we saw this team be bad at free throws, and now we're seeing this team string together multiple games where they're shooting well from the free throw line and sometimes even winning the free throw battle. That's something that is going to go a long way for this team in the playoffs. I really believe that that is a margin that if they can neutralize, then they are playing very well, because you know you're going to give up the three. You know most nights you're going to lose a 3-point battle.
Yeah.
Although some nights you can win it, but you know most nights you'll lose it. So if you can just do those other things well, those other teams really don't stand a chance. So I thought it was a great just team performance against, again, a team like Denver. You have to beat. They don't give you the win ever. You have to beat them. In fact, they have a 71% win percentage when Jokic and Murray each scored 20. And that's going back. That's going back not just this season. That's going back like the last 3 or 4 seasons. And the Pistons won tonight. They beat a 70% win team tonight.
Yep.
That's huge.
With their star player in there. How you doing tonight? With their star player in there, man. That's the type of stuff that I'm like, you know what, this is a good quality win. Earlier in the season, we saw the Pistons get what we call the character win, where, you know, they handled themselves a little bit, but then they kind of let a team back in and they still won. They had some injuries as well themselves, so with some players missing. But tonight, this one was just simply quality. You know, I like the fact that you saw Denver scrambling to try and run different looks at the Pistons, but it was the Pistons who were the ones in control, and it was them almost like Floyd Mayweather when he's in control in the closing rounds of the fight. It doesn't matter the flurries that you're putting up on him. He's going to dodge and dodge and dodge and dodge and dodge and dodge. And you might think you caught something, then you realize, nope, I just hit the corner of the ring. You know what I mean? That's the type of stuff that I'm starting to see at the Pistons, and it's kind of scary because it's uncomfortable for me. We talking about what the national media is talking about. You know the reason why it's difficult to be like, yo, yeah, man, the Pistons are that team? Because they absolutely look like that team. And have we ever thought about the implications of if they're that team? Even though we're talking about it right now as it relates to the Pistons could get to the championships. Bro, if the Pistons actually make it to the championships, I might have to take one game off from covering it and just put on a jersey and sit somewhere as a fan. Like, think about that. Like, if they actually make the finals, but
that's why I'm on them to make a move. That's why I'm on them to make a move.
We still got time, and you know what? Maybe that's a perfect segue, man. Because got just a few more minutes here before I get up out of here. They already turned up the first set of lights. Shout out to the quarter winners tonight. Shout out to the Pistons home court. But Jaden Ivey today, he gets traded for Dario Saric, for Herter, and a pick swap 2026, which means if things hold serve, the Pistons will move up in the first round but not by much. But in terms of what I'm hearing, the value could still be really, really good for the Detroit Pistons to have just even a slightly better first round pick because of how some of the prospects are laying out in a lot of teams' mock drafts. And so I did hear that from some people here tonight. But I don't know, dog. There's a lot of people out there who they can understand bringing in a Kevin Huerter. And there's some people out there who believe, okay, they can understand trading Jaden Ivey, but they just don't necessarily understand the return. And for me, I believe that the type of coach we've seen JB Bickerstaff be, he will find good use with Kevin Huerter. You know, whether he gets that 40 or 38% back on decent volume or not, if you can get him at the 35%, 2 or 3 threes a game, he's going to be doing his job. You know, it's either Ivy for those 15 minutes with the dynamic aspects of basketball, or it's you got Dennis Jenkins, Marcus Sasser running the point, and you got Kevin Huerter playing your Duncan Robinson light off the bench.
Yeah.
So I can see it working, but in terms of the overall trade, I would have liked to see that Jaden Ivey was worth a little bit more.
Of
Now,
course.
does he carry a $30 million cap hold this summer? He absolutely does. So if you're not going to sign him and you like him, this is probably a situation where it's like, you know what? Like with Sadiq Bey, what did they do? Hey, look, you got your contract coming up this year. We're not going to give you probably what you're looking for, but we want to put you in a situation or give you your best shot at being able to go out there and prove yourself. And so if I'm just reading at this based on how I've seen him make moves before, that's what I believe that this deal was. I think that this deal is one that it's a clean cap sheet deal for the Pistons. Shout out to their front office. They're bringing in 2 expiring contracts, and they're bringing in players, though, that can also help them. So not just help them as it relates to the contracts, but not Dario. Dario, sorry, I'm not expecting anything. But in terms of Kevin Huerter, I am expecting him to come in here and off the gravity of Cade Cunningham, off the dynamic play, and off of just the kind of chemistry vibes that we're seeing from the Pistons, to be able to come in here and actually play his role. Now, I know over the last 10 games, he's been shooting 40% from beyond arc, despite the fact that on the year, he's shooting 31% on over 5 attempts per game. To put that in perspective, Beasley was shooting dag near 40% on 7 attempts per game. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And that's why, that's why, Kool-Aid, like, my question to you with the Herder thing and everybody that's questioning it is, why won't he succeed? Why won't he improve? Why won't he thrive here in Detroit? When you look at the shooters that they have brought in, every single shooter that they have brought in has succeeded. Like these last couple seasons, bringing in Malik, bringing in Tim Hardaway, bringing in Duncan Robinson, these guys have all had very, very good years, if not in some cases their best year. So I don't see why, why Kevin Huerter, and yes, he did play with a point guard in Josh Giddey, who's a good playmaker. But I think we all understand that Cade's gravity and playmaking is much better than Josh Giddey's at this point. And also you pair that with, again, the history now that they have brought in 3 sharpshooters, and all of them have had good seasons with this team, arguably even some of their best seasons. So why would you not expect that off of Huerter? That's one thing. Another thing I want to say about this trade is, look, would you have liked more with Ivy? Sure, but I think people are underrating, that first-round pick value of moving up in a draft that is a good draft. Hell, Lions fans are crashing out right now that they're 5 spots lower. Yeah. Well, guess what the Pistons just did? They just moved up like 5 spots. So right. I think that it's foolish to look at this and disregard that as not valuable. That is absolutely valuable to this Piston team. And then the last part is, look, Ivy was 11th in the rotation right now. Like, that's just a matter. We watched this guy not play fourth quarters, not play second halves. He was getting DMPs. Now, yes, he was a former top 5 overall pick. Yes, he did flash moments. Yes, he did have a bad injury. And yes, this is probably bad timing on just the situation. But ultimately, this was his value, because the Pistons would have made a different move if his value was greater. This was his value. The Pistons, like you said, emphasize wanting to get financial flexibility while also addressing the need and getting some type of asset. So I think the Pistons checked all the boxes that they wanted to check. Yeah. Maybe they could have got a better player that might have had 2 years or 3 years left on their contract, and they weren't interested in that. But ultimately, this was the best move for the Pistons that was on the table, because it was the 11th man for Chicago's 10th man or 8th man, however you want to look at it. And Chicago's not rubbing their hands like we absolutely stole one on this Pistons team, because an hour later they went and got another guard. They have 7 guards.
I was about to talk about that.
I don't think I don't think, sorry, Kool-Aid, I don't think that they
you're good.
are looking at this like they fleeced the Pistons. No, I think they're looking at it as, well, shit, he was a top 5 overall pick. He did flash good moments. Let's just get him in here. We don't really got a lot of young guys that we plan on keeping long term. Let's see if we could just do something with it. Kevin Huerter means absolutely nothing to us. So yeah, let's do it. Like that was all the motive and incentive that Chicago had in this deal. So
Yeah.
I don't think you can I don't think if Cleveland's looking at it that highly, they're not selling their fan base on who Jaden Ivey can be, that we just got this future all-star for dirt cheap. They're not
Yeah.
selling it. They're not taking Ivey seriously. The Pistons shouldn't be. It's just that Ivey was so beloved in Detroit and that he was so polarizing in Detroit that this is the reaction that you're getting. But if
Well,
you're
and he
watching
was
the
just
national
starting
media
to figure
coverage,
it
they
out
don't
too.
care. The
Yeah,
national media doesn't care about this deal.
yeah, and I was gonna say it also, like, I know that there were a contingent of fans. I was one of them too, who you see him start to figure it out last year before the injury, and now you see the injury take away a lot
Right.
from him that he depends on with his game, the speed, the athleticism, the burst, and all those things. And so from that standpoint, I can kind of get it, but from the Pistons, if it's about a championship, man, sometimes tough and hard decisions are gonna have to be made. And I think that a lot of
Absolutely.
people, even the most bullish on Ivy, knew, like, okay, it's probably gonna have to be something that's done. But that's where people look at the return and they're just like, man. So it's like, if I had to say it, like, I'm gonna trust this regime until they prove us not to. Is it a deal I would have made? No, not quite. But I also value Ivy at a place or at a pace that clearly the league doesn't. When you bring up the other deal that they made today, the Bulls, Anthony Simons and a second round pick for Nikola Vucevic and a second round pick, that's when you can instantly look at the value of a Jaden Ivey and realize, oh, this is what the league must think of him. If Anthony Simons can get you Nikola Vucevic and Jaden Ivey can get you Kevin Huerter, it's showing you right there what the NBA thinks of him. Because just a few years ago, we were asking this question: would you trade Ivey for Anthony Simons? And there was obviously some people who would be like, yeah, but the majority of people are like, no, man, that's Jay and Ivy. Now the consensus would probably be that Anthony Simons has been or is the better player over the last couple of years between the two of them. And he was traded for Nikola Vucevic. That's where I think when you talk about, did Trajan make the right deal, the wrong deal, for all the things that you want to be able to cross off, and you have a Jay and Ivy, they already know if we're not going to re-sign him, we have to trade him.
Yes.
If we're not going to match the RFA deals in the offseason, we have to trade him. And we want to be able to give him his best opportunity to win and to earn a little bit more bread. So why keep him locked away on your team behind minutes restrictions and role reductions when you can kind of do this addition by subtraction? You don't want to kill a young player's career. Some people, I don't think that people understand that there can be this notion of addition by subtraction with the J and Ivy, simplifying the rotation, and now there's no longer this obligation to try and make sure you get him his opportunities. You want him to have his opportunities, but not at the expense of what your team could potentially do to win. And who's going to argue with JB Bickerstaff right now? Like, I don't know if this was something that he was in on or not in on or whatnot. I know that I thought he put Jay and Ivy in a lot of good positions to succeed. So, I see some people. I see Sean Lewis in chat said Detroit did Ivy wrong. Period.
I don't think so.
I wouldn't say that they did him wrong. It's a business at the end of the day. And I thought that they made a decision to trade him that I thought was okay. But it would be nice if it was a little bit more of a return. But like I said, when you look at what Trajan has been able to do with players that have been less heralded, what did people think of Malik Beasley? Nobody thought he was going to be what he was. What were people saying about Tim Hardaway when we signed him? Look at people today and saying, oh, yeah, I like Uncle Tim. I like Uncle Tobias. People weren't really saying that the whole time that he was here, or that the rumors were that he was going to come here. So it's like, you look at these guys now that Trajan's bringing in, and it's like, you know what? Okay, I can see the vision. I can see the light. And then the other thing is this. When you're talking about Ivy, when you're talking about what you're going to do moving forward, the Pistons re-signing on players has got a lot more pricey. Jalen Duran was already going to be pricey, but then he went and made an all-star game too.
Yeah.
Let him make an all-NBA team, which I don't think is going to be too difficult for him to make.
Yeah.
Let him make an all-NBA team. That contract goes through the roof, man. It's gonna continue to rise for the big fella, and he deserves it. And he earns it. And I'm glad that we have an owner that's willing to pay for these players, especially if he thinks that they're championship worthy. But Danius Jenkins, he turned down a 2-year minimum deal from the Detroit Pistons. They were trying to, they're obviously going to convert him. to a full contract, but they tried to get him on the 2-year min, and he said nope. So you're looking at
Yeah.
players that are going to be getting a little bit more money here and really soon, including Marcus Sasser. Then the year after, you got Isaiah Stewart, and then you're going to have to restock because guys like Javonte Green and Paul Reed and some of your depth pieces, that are vital to what you're able to do this year, they might not be here in the near future. So
Yeah.
that's the component of this thing here, man, that I'm like, okay, maybe the Pistons are moving in a way to try and make sure that they can protect their ability to bring back some of their guys in
Yeah.
this offseason.
At the end of the day, oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say on big deals.
Yeah. I think that at the end of the day, you have to look at this Ivy situation, how the Pistons looked at it. And you brought up that cap number, which I think is huge, that cap hold. I think this trade shows that they had no intention of re-signing Ivy. So you look at the value you got, and you essentially got a role player that helps you this season and better draft capital for nothing, essentially. Because look, as much as anybody may have liked Ivy, the truth is how this team looked at him, it is very clear in what they traded him for and what the market told you he was worth. Because again, do you think that Trajan was hanging up the phone on these other deals that were coming his way that were just like, I gotta have Ivy. What do you want for Ivy? And it sucks. And it's not the Pistons doing him dirty. It's just the bad situation for him. It's really, I feel for Ivy because that man really wanted to make it work in Detroit. That man really worked hard. People like you that cover the team tell me how hard he worked. The teammates spoke very highly of him.
He went through that Monty BS too.
He went through a lot in this tenure in this organization. We talk about how great it's been for these young guys. One guy that's really been the brunt of the storm is Jaden Ivey, like you said, going through the Monty thing, having these injuries, setting up his contract year, because you're right. There was a time last year where it looked like it was clicking. The Pistons still weren't winning games yet, but they did end up turning the corner shortly after his injury. And, at that time of his injury, he was looking like the Pistons' second best player. He was progressing with the 3-point shot, which is something that we were all wrong about. I don't think anybody really believed that he could be as good of a shooter as he's been in the league. So that's a very promising thing. But ultimately, it was those injuries that set him back, because I do think he will be a better basketball player than he's been this year. Like, I believe that. But unfortunately, the Pistons were dealt a bad hand in the situation that they had to make this move now, because then it was either make the move now or he walks for absolutely nothing, because you weren't going to tie $30 million in cap hold to him and wait for somebody to give him a restricted free agent offer and then go from there. You'd rather cut your losses, have that financial flexibility, get a player that helps you more now. So I think it wasn't the Pistons doing him dirty. It was just the situation was unfortunate for Ivy. It was unfortunate that he had the leg injury and the knee on top of that. Like, he just, he's been through a lot. I hope he overcomes it. I hope he perseveres. I'm rooting for him to an extent. I don't want to see him do that well because he is in the Eastern Conference still as of now. But ultimately, I got nothing bad to say about him, and I don't think that the Pistons are looking at him as this toxic problem that they just got off of. I think it was just a situation where that's what it was, and it's not ideal. It wasn't ideal, but it's what it was, and the Pistons had to do what they had to do. And I don't think that, Ivy may be hurt now because of how much you love Detroit, but I think that, when the smoke clears, both sides are going to look at it as this was the right move for all parties involved. And I think Pistons fans will end up being happy with Kevin Huerter and what he brings this season.
Yeah, and I think that the best thing to do, I know that these guys are traded for each other and everything, but if the Pistons they feel like they have that spot filled that Jaden Ivey could play, then I understand them making a move like this. But Jaden Ivey, man, for his career, obviously, he didn't get the minutes to really put up the volume, so the points per game are going to be affected. But for the career, he averaged 14.9 points per game. This year, he was at 8.2. 4 assists, 3.5 rebounds for the career this year, 2.2 rebounds, 1.6 assists. And this where it gets interesting, though. It's the shooting numbers. This was all of his shooting splits are higher than his career averages. So this year he was averaging 45% field goal. On his career, it was 43. Field goal percentage from 3-point percentage this year he was at 37%. For his career, he's at 35.4. Free throws, he was at 78.9, almost 80% this year. For his career, he's at 74. And his effective field goal percentage, which balances everything, he's at 54.5%. Whereas for the career, he was at 49.8. And so that's where I'm like, you know what? Sometimes I'm just like, I don't know the people who say like he didn't do nothing or he was trash or whatever, or this was a good trade. I don't really know what people are looking at, because when you look at the 3-point shooting from Jaden Ivey, it's been better than a lot of people want to give credit for, man, realistically. And that's where you look at Kevin Huerter, Ivey's been the better shooter between those two over the last few years, but I get it. Sample size. You know, Kevin Huerter's been in the league 10 years. To start the year, his career, I remember him out in Atlanta. He was known as a shooter. But as of late or as of recent, he's been more streaky. So it'd be
But
interesting to see,
again,
because
Kool-Aid,
you called it out. People get better when they come here as shooters.
Yeah, that's it. Again, Kool-Aid, it's the Caden Pistons effect. Like, we're seeing that consistently with shooters. So
Yep.
I would expect that Herter's numbers are better, and maybe Ivy's numbers dip, and then it looks like a hell of a win for Detroit.
It's interesting. I'm just sitting here looking at it, man. Jaden Ivey's 3-point adjusted rate was 51% this year. That's up from 37.3% last year. His true shooting is up to 57%. It was a career high for him in terms of true shooting. So those are the components there. Just when I kind of look at this thing, you know, maybe the fit wasn't all the way there for the Detroit Pistons, but Jaden Ivey is not necessarily a slouch. I wasn't against trading him, and still to be seen how this Herter trade helps the Pistons. But Jaden Ivey was definitely a decent player who I believe you're going to see him be a little bit more like himself after about a year. Yeah, everybody, you can talk to the doctors, they tell you when you have the injury, the type of injury you had, the type of surgery when you're playing basketball, they won't really look like themselves until about a year after. So, you know, it's an interesting thing. Shout out to the Pistons, because I feel like Trajan Langdon is a guy in his front office that they move with command. They don't move just to make a move. They move because they're intentional about it. And whenever you see that the cap sheets are so clean, that's when it's like, you know what, this was a very intentional move. Even with the Duncan Robinson deal, how many people say, oh my gosh, Duncan Robinson, all that money? Then you realize if the Pistons wanted it to be, that's basically just a 1-year deal with a whole lot less guaranteed money than what the total contract value was. And so when I see this deal, I feel like it's the Pistons doing their thing to, one, put themselves back into a position before the trade deadline to see what they can vulture up. And then two, when you're going into the offseason, you want to be able to make sure you have as much money freed up as possible going into the draft, because after the draft, cap holds can get pretty crazy. So, and if you want Jaden Ivey's 30 mil on your books, I don't think you do. Do you want him on the books and just relinquish him? Why get that far like that? And so if he's not a part of what your team is going to be this year, because that matters too, man. It's not necessarily about, you know, what we think about Jaden Ivey. Sometimes it can be what JB Bickerstaff knows about his team, his team's makeup, his team's chemistry, what he's trying to get out of them. And if these players fit matters, man. It just does. And so I do believe that Jaden Ivey could fit with this team, but in terms of waiting for him to get back to what we need him to be, I just don't know if the windows and the timing really kind of match up for Jaden Ivey right now. Are you there, Platty? I don't know if I can hear it or not, man. Maybe it's on my end. Yeah, I don't know if I can hear you. Can you guys hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. I can't hear Chris right now, though. Oh, Chris, I think you might have muted yourself. Yeah, it looked like Chris got muted. We'll try and get his mic back in here. Say something, Platty.
All right, are we good
There
now?
we go. We good, man. I was sitting here like, yo.
My computer is all the way over there. I had to go literally run out of shot to fix it. So I don't know how I got muted. But yeah, no, I was just saying that who knows what the future holds. Like Ivy could end up finding his way back to Detroit. Like it was just right now that situation, the situation, the Pistons roster building standpoint,
Yeah.
he didn't fit. Like I agree with what you're saying. As a player, he shot the ball well enough to, to warrant a spot. And if he gets those other parts of his game back, then hell yeah, he's an absolute fit with this team. But right now he doesn't have those. The Pistons had to move on to him. Who knows? Maybe he takes a 1-year restricted qualifying offer or whatever and becomes an unrestricted free agent next year. And then maybe he looks at a return with the Pistons. Like you never know how these things are going to play out, but wish him the best. Again, to a limited extent because he is in Chicago, but ultimately, yeah, I think that this wasn't something that Pistons fans should get upset about because ultimately they traded a late bench player for another late bench player and an upgraded pick. And that's what it is. And you're hoping that this other late bench player produces better than Ivy, but doesn't it's not really going to change anything because Ivy probably wasn't cracking the playoff rotation as of now.
I could have seen him being on the tail end of it, but like if that's your arc, if that's where you're landing on this team, it's probably not best for your career while you're still in your rookie contract.
Exactly. So,
well, look, I'm gonna try and do another stream in the near future here, Platty. Especially probably I'm gonna see how things go Friday. With the trade deadline. If anything crazy happens, I'll try and stay as long as I can until you get there. And maybe we'll go live for about 5 or 10 minutes on Woodward Pistons. Or maybe on Woodward Sports. I'll probably do Woodward Pistons. I know heavyweights will be getting going kind of shortly after that. So let's try and plan something soon so we can talk to people again, give them a little bit of a breakdown of the trade deadline. And, it'll be interesting to see what happens here. It really will. But the first day after, like the trade's not official yet, but obviously Jaden Ivey wasn't in the lineup tonight. And first game, Pistons still look good, man. Good game, good win, 124-121 win over the Denver Nuggets. The Pistons moved to 37-12 on the season, man. Just 12 flipping losses through 49 games for the Detroit Pistons. And Cade Cunningham, Jalen Durham, big double-doubles. Duncan Robinson, 20 points on the night, and everybody else seemed to play just solid, man, on both ends of the court. So overall, good quality win for the Detroit Pistons, buddy. Anything you want to say before we sign off?
I'll reiterate. I think the Pistons are making another move. I don't know if it's a big splash. I doubt it is a big splash, but I think that they still have that $8.7 million in trade exception. They can maybe move Dario Saric's money, although I bet that's probably going to be hard to do. Teams like Minnesota and the Cavs are getting in the Giannis sweepstakes. Maybe the Pistons get in because those teams are trying to move some salary in order to get to those numbers that get you in the ballpark for Anthony Davis or Giannis Antetokounmpo or Domantas Sabonis in terms of the Raptors. There's still a lot of moves to be made, and the Pistons have shown that they can sneak something out right at the end of the deadline and get themselves a nice little player for cheap. And I think that's what the Pistons are doing. I don't think they're looking to pursue anyone in particular. I think they're letting the cards fall, seeing where these big dominoes fall, and going from there, and maybe kind of looking to make a trade, and maybe even another trade with Chicago, because at the end of the day, Pistons are probably looking at getting some type of guard back and moving off of Karis LeVert. And if that's the case, Chicago does have 7 guards on their roster now. So that is a team you could be doing business with again in the near future. But I think the Pistons are making another move. That's how I'll end this stream. I really think they're making another move. Might not be big, but I think they're making another move.
And that's what I said a little bit earlier too, man. Like my hunches. I remember after the the Jeremy Grant trade, and when he went to Milwaukee for like the 30th overall pick, and everybody was like, "What the frick is going on?" And he just had to kind of wait. By the end of that deal, or he went to Portland for the 30th overall pick. By the end of that deal, the Pistons wound up with Jalen Duren, All-Star Jalen Duren. Let me be correct and respectful. Let me put some respect on the All-Star Jalen Duren. So I agree with you in that hunch. And it'll be interesting to see. And even if they don't, I think it's just very, very comfortable to know that this Detroit Pistons team is still pretty formidable in this league. They are deep. They got bona fide stars. They definitely have a superstar MVP caliber player. And it's interesting, though. The one thing I do hear from national media is that they all say Cade is at least top 2 or top 3 right now in the MVP voting. That's a serious team. See, when we talk about some of these other squads, they didn't have players like a Cade Cunningham type. You knew, no, he's one of those ones. And so, when I look at the Pistons, I believe that they are very, very robust, man, to be able to really get this thing done. Even if they don't go out there and bring in that high, value score that a lot of people were hoping we would bring in here to be able to help Cade. But, man, I think that's a night, man. Shout out to the Pistons.
Yeah. Shout out to Pistons. Shout out to everybody that tapped into the stream. Please like it on the way. Like it on the way out.
I appreciate the people too, man. They saw me yawning a couple times, man. The Pistons just handle business, man. I've seen them do this so many times now this season. I was just like, oh. But nah, I appreciate you guys, man. This has been awesome. It's been fun hanging out at Little Caesars Arena, talking hoops with my homie Platty, man. And we get to see winning basketball more times than not. We don't get on here very often, bro, when we do these streams and talk about a loss. Why? Because the Pistons won again.
This is one again. Let's go.
Rock, man. All love, brother. All love to you guys. Chat, man, go ahead and smash that like button. Peace out, y'all. Wait, one more look at the court. And shout out to the staff here, man, getting things shut down and such, man. Appreciate you guys, man.
Peace.